For Harlem Pōhutukawa. Last week, as you know, I interviewed Murray Dika, a resident of the Strand Takapuna, and this extraordinary tale about a Pōhutukawa, which is emblematic of much of all that is wrong in this country, both from at a local government level and at the influence of Te Reti and of Maori groups and of Maori spiritualism into our society. In this particular case, 3 years ago, a Pōhutukawa fell over. It's still fallen over, huge tree on private property outside a block of apartments on the Strand. The local residents want to do the decent thing, chop it all up, send it away, get their view back, and return that particular green space to them. After all, it is theirs. But they have run against opposition, particularly for Maori quarter, arguing that this particular tree is sacred. And not only is sacred, it cannot be touched because its spiritualism trumps the private rights of those landowners. Joining us on the latest development of this is Judy Gill, a former teacher in actual fact, I'll find out in just a second, who's done some research on this particular issue, and she's going to share it with us this morning. Judy, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on the program.
Thanks, Michael. Nice to talk to you.
First of all, a little bit about yourself, Judy. I see from your background that you've got a degree in science and you've got a diploma of teaching. You're a primary or secondary school teacher. You still are? No?
No, I'm staying at home looking after a 4-year-old child. I was teaching at secondary schools in Auckland and Western Samoa.
Okay, well, that's interesting. And now, can I ask the question, which is, how on earth did you get to become and support the cause of secular education in this country? What led you to that path?
Well, it started in mid-March this year. I was overseas for a couple of years, and when I came back, naturally I put my child's name down for the local kindergarten on Waiheke Island. And there was a little bit of waiting time, so he started at a preschool with his name still on the waiting list for this kindergarten. It's a kindergarten that takes children from about 4.5 years of age to 5. It doesn't have any children younger than that. And it's got a very good reputation, and most parents who are like stay-at-home mums or who work on the island and don't have to commute to the city want their child to go there. So they put their name down on the waiting list for it. So, of course, I just assumed that this is what I would want for my child as well, seeing that whatever I do is on a laptop, on a cell phone, and I just stay home. So he was given a position there, and there wasn't much introduction to it. I got a few documents. I spent an hour down at the kindergarten reading the forms and signing things. And he got 2 days a week, and the other 3 days a week he was just going to stay at his other preschool. And you didn't go into the kindergarten to see what the children were doing. You could go in 15 minutes before closing and look around then. And after only 2 days of going there, it was like full immersion Sunday school. It was, you sat on a mat at hui time and you were surrounded by all these gods, these atua. It wasn't children's art, it was adult art, and they're very graphic adult paintings of atua. And then there were lots of books of te reo and atua and Maui and stuff. But what was so different from what I'd seen before was the artwork on the walls. And all I could think of was, this is Sunday school, but there's not one god, there's a whole lot of gods. So I asked the head teacher to explain. I did this by email. I didn't actually talk to her face-to-face. And she sent me a document called an internal assessment. And it was 6 pages long, and it had pictures of little blonde girls pouring water on the plants on the top of Po. And it was very detailed about the atua and about the religion, basically, that's taught at the kindergarten. And I'll read you out.
So this is at Waiheke Kindergarten, is that what you're saying?
Yes, Waiheke Kindergarten. It's part of Auckland Kindergarten Association.
And it's funded by the New Zealand taxpayer?
Oh, yes, it is. It's right. The only Auckland Kindergarten Association kindergarten on the island. Yeah. The staff are paid directly by the Ministry of Education, not by a private company. They're an Enviro school, registered, and they come under the umbrella of Auckland Kindergarten Association. So when the ERO investigate them, they actually just investigate all these kindergartens together. So you don't get an ERO report for them. The latest one online is 2017, and they're meant to be every 4 years, but ERO are not willing to do another one. I did try to get them to do another one. They wouldn't. But anyway, I went through all of the different authorities. I went to the head teacher, then the Auckland Kindergarten Association, Enviro Schools, Ministry of Education, ERO. And now I'm up to the Ombudsman and the Human Rights Commission. And the reaction at every level is just complete gaslighting. And there's this institutional capture by all these organisations where they are incapable of seeing that spirituality is religion. And so long as they don't use the word religion, well, as far as they're concerned, it's just fine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm up at the level of the Ombudsman now, and they haven't even read the documents yet. But already over the phone, I know they're captured because the guy on the phone basically said, "Oh, Judy, when your son starts at school, there'll be lots of this. You just need to get used to it." And have you thought about sending him to some other kind of school? And it was, what? I want my son to go to a state school, a government-funded school. I've never looked for a religious school, but it turns out the schools are the religious schools. Obviously, I had this problem at the kindergarten, and it sort of pushed a red light. So, of course, I had to start looking at the local schools as well. I don't have a child at any of the local schools, but I started with the one where he's zoned for, the only one he can actually just automatically go to without them saying, no, we don't want you. And I had similar kind of problems. I have been writing.
So your argument, when you talk about religion, you're saying that it's not a Christian religion that is being taught, or a version of. It is a Maori religion, and it's quite nativist by nature. Because it has multiple gods, and it is based on, well, one presumes pre-Christian Maori spiritualism, is it?
Well, I've traced it back 5,000 years from Taiwan and the Philippines and Indonesia down through Eastern Polynesia down to New Zealand. So, okay, it's a 5,000-year-old religion, and it just changes a little bit as it goes. If you listen to that Origins series with Scotty Morrison, you can trace the migration of the people down to New Zealand, and the religion follows down in the same way. You can trace it in the same way, just like you can do with te reo language. And it changes according to what the needs are. So when the religion's up in the islands, the sea gods, the seafaring gods are very important. But when you get down to New Zealand, the land gods become important as well. So you have Tane Mahuta. And then you get on, in New Zealand, you add in the ancestors as being gods. So you have both the divine and the human are gods. You've got Atua and you've got Tupuna. Now making this big pantheon of gods, which is kind of unlimited because you can keep on adding on ancestors to it.
So, so that's the Maori gods and the Maori religious dimension there. At the kindergarten that you're talking about, were there any examples of, for example, Christian gods or the Christian God?
No.
Judaism?
No.
The Abrahamic? No? No Islam? No Hindi?
No, it's not biculturalism. It's just biculturalism in name. It's monoculturalism.
So it's monoculturalism.
It's mono. More gaslighting because they keep saying it's bicultural. Honouring the treaty, honouring the principles of the treaty. This is what they all quote whenever I get the official responses from these government departments. It's not the articles of the treaty, it's the principles of the treaty, the ones that have been made up in the last 50 years.
Yes, and ones which presumably are made up by public servants, and in this particular case by kindergarten staff. Is that what you're saying?
No, I trace it back, and this is not the only kindergarten in New Zealand that does this. There's a curriculum called Te Whariki.
Yes,
it came out
right.
I think it came out in 1996, and then it was modified in 2017. And in 2017, that's when they put into Ao Māori and Mataranga Māori. Before that, it's more like hearing about just making sure that boards look after the well-being and education of Māori, but they weren't specifically talking about terms like te ao worldview, te ao Māori and Mataranga Māori. But that's fully incorporated in Te Whariki 2017. So it's been going for 8 years, and I didn't know anything about it. But if you get their curriculum documents, they've got 2 streams. They've got one that is basically for kohanga reo, and they've got another stream which is basically for the what is so-called secular or mainstream preschools and kindergartens. And it outlines very clearly all this religious teaching. It's there in black and white. The kindergarten didn't make it up. They didn't originate it. They use it to get brownie points. They get brownie points with the ERO. They get higher ratings if they incorporate more and more of this stuff for Te Whariki. And Te Whariki is for 0 to 6-year-olds. So my child encountered it at 4.5. But as soon as your baby can speak, he can do karakia and he can talk to Puna in kindergarten and preschool now.
Mm. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've got it open in front of me now. The fascinating thing is that there's a section at the end, which I'm sure you've read, called Underpinning Theories and Approaches. And it essentially says this is what we base this curriculum on. It's on page 60, if you wanted to read it. I'm sure you have already. But it's a perspective that's entirely Maori. So it's not multicultural at all, and it's certainly not bicultural. I think it's also headed, if handed down by the ancestors, it would be correct. I mean, which is a nonsense, but, just because your generation before said it doesn't make it true. And then quotes leading Maori theorists as to, and a kaupapa Maori theory, and critical theories as well. So I agree with you. It's a radical document written by radicals within the Ministry of Education and obviously embraced by the kindergarten movement. And you're right to draw it to our attention. We will talk more on this, Judy. But thank you for your background. You've answered that question. Now let's move on to the other question, which is the Pōhutukawa tree.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get involved in this issue after you've come across that?